Ometeot, Ometekutli, Ometisiwat, Tonantzin Yolot, Tonantzin Yolot, Tonantzin Yolot, Tonantzin Yolot, Tlazocamat.
The Chicano is the key to the future harmony of this continent, North and South America.
The Brown Berets, a group of Chicanos and Chicanas who fought for equality and justice. They were and are part of the social and political activism that swept through the Southwest during the 1960s and 70s. Their support for the United Farm Workers, opposition to the Vietnam War, and advocacy against police brutality and injustices were important themes in their messages. The Brown Berets staged events that included the East LA High School blowouts in 1968, in which several thousand students participated in, and in the Vietnam War protest march known as the Chicano Moratorium in 1970 that turned violent and claimed the lives of several, including Ruben Salazar, a prominent Chicano journalist. Also, the occupation of the Santa Catalina Islands off the coast of California in 1972, in which they renamed the island Aztlán Libre and occupied it for nearly a month.
Law enforcement agencies, including the FBI's COINTELPRO unit, infiltrated the Brown Berets, fearing the militant group would plan hostile insurrection against U.S. interests. Eventually, the group disbanded in 1972, which claimed to have over 5,000 members at the time nationwide. However, many autonomous chapters remained active, such as the Brown Berets of Aztlán, based in San Diego. The group came under heavy scrutiny and pressure under counterintelligence groups and their tactics of dissension.
The community of Watsonville is one that has seen its share of struggles, from the cannery strike in 1985 to the struggle for district elections, to the devastating earthquake in 1989, in which the community came together to transcend from this catastrophe. In Watsonville, a community that has been deeply entrenched in political activism and community service, youth have played a significant role. One of the most prominent groups has been the Brown Berets.
Started in Watsonville in April of 1994 in response to the killing of Jessica and Jorge Cortez, the Brown Berets wanted to focus on community violence and promoting higher education. Through the principle of direct action, they organized to unite their community.
From the very beginning, this organization has been willing to be the group that stands up for social justice, that speaks up for what is right in this community, and provides that voice for young people that many times is not representative in decisions that get made in this community or out in the schools. And so we need more organizations like the Brown Berets to continue to develop that type of leadership. A long time ago we said, who better to be the next generation of leaders in this area than young people who grew up in this community, who were raised in this community, that started grassroots organizing from a very early age, that knew the issues impacting working families, that then went on to get their college degrees, took their education seriously, and then come back home to continue that leadership.
So I first heard of the Brown Berets when my older sister, Monica, who's older by 8 years, I found out she was in the Brown Berets, and she would always go to marches and protests, and her and my mom, they would take me, and I just remember seeing like a bunch of older people, like just dressed in brown with the berets on, and like they looked all cool, you know. So I was a little kid, I really looked up to them, and I couldn't wait for the day when I would be able to go to my first Brown Beret meeting.
So my name is Ramiro. I've been a part of the Watsonville Brown Berets for almost 6 years now, and the reason why I started actually was because the Brown Berets represented something that I had in me for a long time, which was the need to organize here in Watsonville.
Coming up is a community action group called the Brown Berets. They are out of Watsonville. They're going to be helping us out with some songs and giving us some good education with a video, and just blessing us with their presence. So everyone help me in welcoming the Brown Berets.
Starting from the 1960s all the way to the Brown Berets today in Watsonville. So hopefully you guys will like it.
In our history, we've networked with many organizations. As a matter of fact, we collaborate with organizations all over the Bay Area. We started with an organization that's been developing all around the Bay Area called Student Empowerment Project. And we kind of became under the wing of the Student Empowerment Project and numerous organizations. We're not only working with other racial organizations, we're even working with religious organizations, where we're collaborating with every single community group that is putting some efforts to make some change in the community, make a positive change for our youth in our community. So we kind of network with every single organization around. As far as living wage, we've always been fighting at those issues. We've networked with the United Farm Workers that's fought tremendously for better wages in the fields, in the canneries, for young women and young men and young youth who are living off McDonald's pay of minimum wage of $6.95. And so we're trying to push those economic changes. We have to begin by organizing with numerous organizations, not just ourselves. It starts with one step, and then it continues on with more organizations to continue that second step.
Brown Berets were important to the community of Watsonville because up until that point, there hadn't been an organization for youth like this. And there certainly hadn't been an organization by youth. There might have been services for youth, but the cool thing and the powerful thing about the Watsonville Brown Berets when they first started in 1994 was that it was created of the young people for the young people. And it was created based on issues that were important to them, which was gang violence and young people dying.
Growing violence in their community was a problem, and that they needed to take a stance against it, and they wanted to do something to be really proactive with the message of peace and unity. And so they organized a march, and they teamed up with local nonprofits and other folks and some of their early mentors who kind of helped them organize this.
Doing this, it's just, we need to do this. We need to do this every year, because if not, all these victims of violence, all these victims of injustice will be forgotten every year.
A young group of Chicanos started the Brown Berets, and they initiated that something that has really impacted Watsonville. As a youth group, they started marching, sending the message to the barrio to stop the violence and to people to stop killing raza.
To the 12th Annual Peace and Unity March.
Jessica Cortez, 9 years old. Jorge Cortez, 16. Tony Valdivia, 19. Victor Cimental, 23.
I'm Rosa de Ramirez. My son is Antonio Valdivia. I am here this morning for the same purpose that everybody's here, and to remember our people that have died.
Me and my family were here. My brother that was killed in 88.
Started in response to violence in our own community, and it's carried the torch of the message of nonviolence to young people and the families of victims and their friends for a really long time now. And it's just amazing work that the Berets have been doing for 12 years, and I'm just really proud to be a part of it. I'm proud to represent the Resource Center for Nonviolence here today and the Youth Empowerment Program, because that's exactly what this is. This is youth empowering themselves to bring their message to people that need to hear it. And whatever we can do to support that is a good thing. I think it's especially important as well in these times of war, and when our own government seems to rely on violence as a way to resolve international conflicts. It doesn't make any sense. It's not setting the example. We hear young people here, don't be violent, don't do drugs. We hear all these messages, but then you look at the government's examples and it's just totally hypocritical. Los barrios unidos, que vivan, los barrios unidos.
The events that we
been consistent organizing every year since 2001 has been Youth in Power. And this was an event where we can utilize music, hip hop, graffiti art in order to attract people, young people in particular, into higher consciousness, political consciousness, to get them involved in community activism.
I want to point out, some of the threat of hip hop music and hip hop culture is very real, because hip hop, the original principles of hip hop, there were the 5 elements: b-boying and breakdancing, DJing, spinning records, MCing or rapping, and then you had graffiti art.
It started in 2001, and basically it's an event where we bring together hip hop, rock, different groups, musical groups that have a positive message, that talk about things going on in different communities, black, brown communities. And we also invite a lot of different organizations to come through, either the table to show their information, or we have, Alternative to Military. We have different nonprofits come in to show youth that there are organizations that are working in these communities to better the conditions. And since in Watsonville there is no other groups are really doing anything like this on a yearly basis. And so basically we've had Immortal Technique come from Harlem, New York. He's done it for free. We've had speakers like Mario Africa, Adisa Banjoko, Fred Hampton Jr. to show that solidarity with the black community. We've had groups like Quinto Sol come through, local groups like PLG, Para La Gente, groups from LA, females, Siwatse.
Living in the hole, looking at the world through a crack. Well, fuck that. I'd rather shoot it out and get clapped. I'm going too far, ain't no coming back for me. Auschwitz gas chamber full of Zyklon B. Just like the Spanish exterminating Tainos, raping the black and Indian women, creating Latinos. Motherfuckers made me out of self-righteous hatred. Now you got yourself a virus, stuck in a matrix. Suicide bomber, strapped and ready to blow. Noise for the Brown Berets. Down, ready to go. Don't you understand? Who'll never let me live out.
A lot of the immigrant community has to live within the shadows, and they live in fear. Fear that they're going to be discovered, that they're undocumented, and the fear that they could be separated from their families. And so what these marches were doing, the marches leading up to May 1st, showed the immigrant community that you have a voice and you have a power. February 21st, 2006, the Brown Berets are invited to Riverside, Southern California, and this is where the first talks of having a May 1st march occurred. We met, there was organizations like ours, the Brown Berets, there was unions there was community organizations, there was day labor organizations, there was immigrant rights groups, there was also academics there, and also politicians. And pretty much what was talked about, it was the different things, the planning that was going to go into these marches. Then as time got closer around March, we brought that back and we had a march in Santa Cruz. And at the same time, there were marches going on in Los Angeles and other parts of the country that were, over 100,000 plus sometimes.
Soy nueva, tengo 8 meses aquí y considero que es muy importante porque es un medio en el cual abre muchas puertas para uno de mujer. Muchas veces uno se queda en casa a ver cómo cambia nuestra comunidad en lugar de decir nosotros mismos cómo cambiar a nuestra comunidad.
This organization believes in incorporating many people's struggles, an international struggle, a community struggle. Like Huey P. said, it's intercommunalism, uniting communities, but we're recognizing our differences, and not just through Chicanos, but all communities of color, marginalized communities, oppressed people.
Donate my time to a Watsonville bike shack because I have a passion, and I grew up here in Watsonville, and I have a passion for the youth. And I like working with youth. I like to empower them in a way where I show them a new skill, right? And I show them how to like work on their bikes, so when we're not around, they can fix their own bikes at home or wherever they might be at.
You never trust the power structure to do the right thing, and that there's never progress without struggle, and that we are never going to be able to stop struggling. We're never just going to be an organization that has parties. We're never going to be an organization that just does jump houses in the park and face paints. We're always going to be an organization that progresses for social justice. Therefore, we will always be involved in struggle.
Mexica, Gawi, Mexica, Gawi. Pump your fist if you're a revolutionist. Mexica, Gawi, Mexica, Gawi. Pump your fist if you live indigenous. Hip hop is my weapon. I be the enemy, swallow pressures, keep stepping. Open up wide from north to south, yo. East to the west side, from what is above to the region of the dead. I spit indigenous lyrics, aiming straight for your head. Cause my blood is red, like Son Underground said. You can take my life, but you never get my soul. Yo soy hijo del sol, now I'm under control of my own destino. The sun godfather, like my name was Al Pacino. The earth mother goddess, the culture and the knowledge you can never rob from us. These are my protectors from all four sectors. The water keeps me going like a river when I'm flowing. The earth is my home, the place where I return whenever I begin to roam. The air in my lung helps the movement of my tongue, plus the fire is within, from beginning to the end. So I grip the microphone like a boa constrictor, cause I am and always will be the victor.